Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about that Georgia-Alabama game over there in Tuscaloosa. I do have Georgia winning that one. Could not feel like more of a toss-up in my mind, so I don't think I'd feel any better if I was picking Alabama. So it's going to be an incredible one down there in Tuscaloosa, but we also have an incredible one happening up there in State College. Penn State is facing off against Illinois on Saturday, and this one is really interesting because you see that line and you think, okay, Penn State's likely going to be able to win this one, keep on going about their day, and that's going to be the end of the story. I think a lot of people thought that when Nebraska faced off against Illinois last week. So I'd be a little bit careful. Penn State's a better team than Nebraska. I'll be very, very clear when I say that. But just to be fair, this is not a team that you're going to get to quit by any means. This is not a team that is going to hand you a lot of stuff. Illinois is going to come ready, and they're going to come with a lot of energy. I can promise you that. Penn State's looked good thus far, no question about that. Bowling Green did expose a little bit of gap in that defense that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's a number of different things that could happen in this game. Frankly, if Luke Altmaier is as good as he was against Nebraska, this one might just get interesting in a hurry. And then for Penn State, it's just about proving everyone right, showing that the first 3 weeks were not an anomaly, they're not anything different. They are exactly who we saw the first couple of weeks. They are a dominating team that's really explosive on offense and can really hurt you on defense. So let's get into some players to watch. Caden Fagan is huge in this game. He's the running back for Illinois, a really good player, really talented, and one of those guys that you talk about this Illinois team, and there's a lot of energy around Luke Altmaier and Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, and there should be. They're very, very talented players. The reality is you're probably not going to go punch for punch with Penn State in this game. It's not to say that they can't necessarily, but there's a number of things that probably would have to go their way if they're just going to outright go punch for punch with them. So use your running game. Slow this game down just a little bit. I don't think you necessarily go away from who you are, but definitely make sure that you get this running game going, that you get confident, and then maybe some of those holes that we saw against Bowling Green are a little bit more wide open against you. And then you got Matthew Bailey on the back end of this defense. Penn State's going to throw the ball. We know that about them. We also know they're going to throw the ball over the middle of the field. That's who they are. They throw a lot of crossers, a lot of posts, and that's what Drew Aller's really, really good at. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But this is one of those things where you got to make sure that you have a cap on this team. When you have a crowd like that, and you have an atmosphere, and you have all of this stuff heading in Penn State's direction, not letting them get that big play could be all the difference. Not letting them get that one thing over the middle of the field that totally changes this game, gets the crowd into it, kind of buries your confidence in a number of ways, is absolutely huge. So that back end with Matthew Bailey in it is going to be massive in this game. And then you got Amari Evans. I think when you talk about Penn State, coming into that first game, we were all trying to figure out who the wide receiver is. Who's the guy that Drew Aller is going to go to? Who's his go-to guy? It was Trey Harrison, and it became very, very clear very quickly. And it was a little bit of a mystery going into that game, probably for West Virginia a little bit as well. No longer a mystery. Everyone knows who Trey Harrison is. Everyone knows that if number 6 is on the field, you got to be careful. Now, number 5 might be able to hurt you as well. I think Amari Evans is a very, very talented player, and I think in this game especially, with a very solid defense, not necessarily elite by any means, but at least solid, they're going to key in on Trey Harris. They're going to make Harrison. They're going to make sure that he does not beat them. You got to open things up for Amari Evans. You got to make sure that he gets a couple of touches in this game and just kind of confuses this defense just enough to give you some openings. And then you got DeJuan Lane. He just got asked to do a lot more because KJ Winston is going to be out for this game, is likely going to be out for the year. So absolutely hate to see that. Very, very talented player. And this is still a very good unit, but it means DeJuan Lane is going to have to be a huge player for this team. He's going to take way, way more snaps than he did before, and he's going to be one of those guys that if they make a mistake on that back end, you might just notice it was number 1. So you got to make sure that he's not the guy that's making mistakes, and he's giving you at least a good chance to win this game. I think he's a plenty talented player and will be more than fine, but there's a number of things that he's going to be asked to do on Saturday that he just hasn't quite been asked to do this year. But all the things that Illinois can do to win this game, like we just talked about, force that issue on the back end. Without Kevin Winston Jr., I'll use his full legal name, without him back there, this unit's going to be different. Still a very talented unit, but relatively unproven. There are a number of players back there, A.J. Harris, and a lot of guys that are really good players. I have absolutely every ability to be elite players at this level. As of right now, there's a lot of question marks around it. So force that issue. Keep throwing at them, find that little opening that you need, and then get Pat Bryant loose, get Zachariah Franklin loose, and then this game can change in a hurry. And then also play your game. We talked about what Caden Fagan is going to mean for this team, and he's absolutely huge. There's a number of these games where Illinois will go face Penn State, or maybe, Kentucky will face Georgia at Georgia, or Tennessee will face Georgia at Georgia a couple of years ago. Not now, obviously, but sometimes this will happen where a team will go to another stadium and then they'll just force things. They'll throw the ball downfield, they'll try to make that big play, they'll try to take the crowd out of it, and then you look up at the end of the first quarter and it's 21-0, and you're trying to figure out how it happened. It just happened because you weren't playing your football. Illinois just needs to play their game. It might not be a guarantee that you're going to beat Penn State with your game. I understand that, but going out of who you are, trying to find that one big play, trying to push the ball downfield more than you're comfortable is going to get you in a world of hurt. That's just going to happen. So do what you've been doing. Be a really balanced attack. Be really confident in what you do. Stay in front of the chains. And then let Luke Altmaier pick his moments. That's what they do really well. And frankly, I think if they get anywhere away from that, then it's going to be a really long day for them. And then finally, rattle Aller early. A very, very interesting thing in this game because Drew Aller has been awesome through the season. He's looked very confident, very crisp. He's been the quarterback that Penn State fans have been waiting for. But the question becomes, what happens if you get him early? What happens if he makes one mistake? He throws one pick, or you hit him a couple of times early in this game and he starts thinking just a little bit more. Then maybe those mistakes come back. Maybe he's not the fully reformed project that we all thought he was. Maybe there's a couple of things that he could open the door for you for if you can get after him. So this pass rush is going to be huge. Gabe Jacobs, a number of other guys on that team are going to be massive in this game, and if they can perform, then maybe you get a couple of mistakes that we just haven't seen from Drew Aller yet. But the other side of this, how Penn State can win, kind of like playing your own game, don't handcuff Drew Aller. It's kind of the same principle that when you go into these big-time games where so much can be proven for a young kid, sometimes you just throttle it back just a little bit. You'll get that run game a little bit more involved, and Penn State can do that. It's not to say that they can't. It's just to say what he does is throw the ball downfield. What he does well, maybe better than just about anyone in the country, is throw the ball downfield. 10-plus yards downfield, 12 for 19, 380 yards, 6 touchdowns, and no picks this season. That is what you need to do. That is his comfort zone, and you should not get away from that in the slightest. I understand he's a young kid. I understand what I just talked about. If he gets rattled, maybe some of those mistakes come up. That can't make you shy away from who he is. And he's a very talented kid, and he could turn all types of heads. He could turn a lot of NFL scouts' heads on Saturday, but that'll come in time, obviously. But definitely a huge thing. Let him be himself. Let him do him, and also just unleash the ball a couple of times. He's very talented, and you should not want to shy away from using him in this game. Also, get that whiteout atmosphere. Brett Bielema, was talking about Penn State going up to this game and said they have that whiteout atmosphere, whatever that means. Show him what that means. That's the job of the fans on Saturday. Show him exactly what that means. Show him he did not want to say that, and show him exactly why that is a special atmosphere. That's the goal of Saturday for Penn State fans. More than anything else, is just prove Brett Bielema, I suppose, right in saying have a whiteout atmosphere. Prove that this is what it looks like. Prove that he did not want to give you any ammo, and I understand that this was referencing something that James Franklin said. I'm just saying, use all the juice. He also said Nebraska's a tougher place to play. Everyone heard him. Come out swinging. Let them rethink those words. That's the end goal for these fans this Saturday, and frankly, if they can get that, then Penn State might be off running in this game. Also, make Illinois a passing offense. I know this is kind of an interesting take because Luke Altmaier has been so incredible this season. He's been absolutely awesome. He's gone over 200 yards, around 20 completions in pretty much every game this season. The thing is, that's all well and good. He's been absolutely incredible. He's been executing this offense at a very high level. There are a number of things that could go wrong if he's the guy that has to make every single play. Kansas was able to slow that rushing attack down, and if Jalen Daniels didn't give the ball away 4 times, they would have won that game, plain and simple. So that's the difference. Stop the run, and things could get a little bit ugly. I think Luke Altmaier is plenty capable of executing this offense at a very high level. I don't know if he can do it if they can't get that run game going. I think there's a number of things that could happen on that back end that could just kind of get him into a weird spot. So it's not that Luke Altmaier is not capable of making this a pass-first offense, but I just think it would go against what Illinois wants to do and definitely take him a little bit out of that rhythm, and that's probably all you need if you're Penn State. So finally, a pick in this game. I think the line's a little bit too high. I think Illinois is an interesting team. I think they might come out of the gates a little bit faster than Penn State will in this game, but I can't pick Illinois in this one. I think Penn State just got too many guys on that field. I think Drew Aller's going to have something of a coming out party. Might not be the prettiest performance in the world, but definitely will show us he's a very different player than he was a year ago. And I do think Penn State gets this win. I think it's going to be a fun game for about 2.5 quarters, and then Penn State will find a way to pull away, and that'll be that. So it's going to be an incredible game. Cannot wait to see what Illinois has in them on this incredible run that they've been on. But I do have Penn State winning that game. It'll be awesome to watch that one unfold. But let's take our third break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk about 4 other games. We'll get to Ole Miss, Kentucky, Wisconsin, USC. We'll get to Oklahoma, Auburn, which is a very interesting one down there in Auburn, and then we'll get to Washington State, Boise State, which is a very important game when you talk about the playoff down the road. So we'll take our break here and we'll be right back with that. So stick with us.